If you're making $60,000 right now, 36 years from now, just to maintain your standard of living, you're gonna need $180,000 in income. So when you think about that, what is this gonna do? If you're banking on your retirement plan to becoming a millionaire, $180,000 of $1 million, that's 18% per year. It's never gonna get you anywhere. So saving money is never going to get you where you wanna go. You have to create risks, you have to utilize leverage, and this is one of the reasons that every multi-millionaire, every billionaire in the world has leveraged debt to be able to get where they want to go. Hey, what's going on, Cashflow Hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and for this video, we're going to be talking about how being debt-free can never make you rich. And now that's going to make all of you Dave Ramsey fans, it's going to make your head want to explode. But there's a couple things that I want to talk about, just getting right into this. First and foremost, when you become debt-free, you're not going to, well, you have no leverage, right? So like, granted, by not having any leverage, there's an element of security to that, but the bottom line is, you're not going to be able to create any massive levels of wealth when you are not utilizing leverage, because can't draw blood from a rock. Like, one of the things that really frustrates me is the idea that Dave Ramsey talks about a lot, and he talks about becoming a millionaire. Now, back in 1990, when Dave Ramsey was really starting off on his program and doing his Financial Peace University and all that stuff, a millionaire, back then, let's just call it 8%, because there was an 8% rule because the interest rates were higher and all these different things. That would be able to, if you could become a millionaire, let's just say you have $24,000 of Social Security, 8%, will get you $80,000 on the million. That was kind of the rule, that you could, have your fixed assets do that. And so if you had $1 million, you could basically get $104,000 a year of income, and you're in pretty good shape, right? Like that was actually a feasible thing. So being a millionaire made something, and let's face it, back then, $104,000 was worth a lot more than $104,000 is worth today in 2022, right? And so that's something that's really important to understand. Now, but here's the environment that we live in right now. Is, if you save $1 million, let's go back and just draw this $1 million out. $1 million, they have now what's called the 4% rule. And the 4% rule is simply saying that you can withdraw 4% from your retirement income account and not run a significant risk of running out of money while you're in retirement, right? So that's really important to understand. So in this situation, now what happens in 2022, 32 years later, after 1990, when Dave Ramsey came up with his idea, you have $40,000. Let's say you have $24,000 or maybe $36,000, we'll just say, in Social Security, even though I don't think that's realistic. But we'll just go with it just for fun, and let's say it's $76,000. I don't know who that's going to work for, right? Like I just don't, because most people are not able to accomplish this result. Like $40,000, let's just go here. Like, Social Security is what it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean this up, and we'll just say, okay, let's just eliminate Social Security from the conversation. And let's just talk about this $40,000 for a second. If we talk about this $40,000 and we go, okay, first of all, how much money do you have to make to be able to get to $1 million? If you are saving 10% of your income, let's take the person that would make a difference for. So if you're making $40,000 today, and let's just assume that you're trying to replace that income, let's say you are making $60,000 right now, and between Social Security and whatever you're able to pull from here, that's where you're looking to, like, that's what you need to have happen. So if you're at $60,000 of income, and I'm just running with this off the fly, and you're saving 10% of your income every single year, that's $6,000, right? So here's the crazy part. Did you know if you're 30 right now, what do you have? You have 35 years. So I'm going to pull my calculator out here. And if you do the rule of 72, and I'm going to be really conservative here, and we're going to say it's 8%. So the rule of 72 is basically saying what you have to do is you have to divide 72 divided by the interest rate. So I'm going to go 72 divided by 8. That means every 9 years, your investment will double, right? So if you were earning 8% and you save $6,000 and it was earning 8%, that means 9 years from now, that $6,000 will become $12,000, right? So that's the idea. But here's the deal: on inflation, it works the other way around, right? So now what happens is we go, All right, let's assume a 3% inflation. That means every 24 years, the cost of living is going to double. So if you need if you made $60,000 this year, that means in 24 years, you're going to need 120,000, right? So let's assume you have a 36-year window. So that means in 36 years, so let's double, it's about a 50% increase because it's double minus half. So you're looking at, boom, another 60. So it'll be about 180,000 is what you'll need in 36 years from now, okay? So what does this mean? If you're making $60,000 right now, 36 years from now, just to maintain your standard of living, you're gonna need $180,000 in income. So when you think about that, what is this gonna do? If you're banking on your retirement plan to becoming a millionaire, $180,000 of $1 million, that's 18% per year. It's never gonna get you anywhere. So saving money is never going to get you where you wanna go. You have to create risk, you have to utilize leverage, and this is one of the reasons that every multimillionaire, every billionaire in the world has leveraged debt to be able to get where they want to go. Now, how you utilize that debt, how you set up that debt, how you structure your financial life to take advantage of the debt without, I guess putting yourself in more risk unnecessarily is really important, right? Like, because let's face it, we don't want to put you in a situation where you're taking on all this debt and you're leveraged to the point where any kind of blips in the economy, you're going to have to start over. That's one of the biggest problems that people have with not having their money saved properly, and by taking on too much risk too soon, is they're not ready to kind of weather the storms. They maybe feel like they're doing really well for a decade, and then the economy goes down. They don't have enough money saved. They've got all their money invested in like a 401k, an IRA or something of that nature. And so when the economy goes down, they lose their job, things happen. They have to now, because they don't have a savings account, they have to liquidate negatively performing assets just to pay their bills, to pay their mortgage, to put food on the table for their kids, make their car payments, do things like this to live life as they're rebuilding, as the economy is recovering, as they're finding a new job, as they're going through this transitional process. And by the time, even though they felt like they were doing great for a decade, at the end of this cycle, when they go through the down cycle and the downswing, by the time they start to rebuild, they find out they're starting from scratch. And all it takes is that happening one time in a 40-year plan, and this whole I'm gonna save to get where I wanna go thing is turned on its head. And it's mind-numbing that, to me, most people don't see that. And the funny part to that, to me, is we know that the market is cyclical. It's not linear. It doesn't go up in this nice straight, nice flat curve, even though every advisor out there that works for a traditional broker will tell you just buy and hold and the market's gonna recover and you're gonna average 8% and it's gonna be okay for you. Just buy and hold and wait it out. If you don't have your life structured properly to take advantage of it, it's not gonna get you where you wanna go. So now what I wanna do is I wanna take a minute and I wanna show my computer screen. And the reason I want to show this is because I want to talk to you about real estate and leverage, because I showed you on my computer screen, right? I showed you on my Vibe board here, I showed you that saving is not going to get you there. Now, I think a lot of people love real estate. A lot of people think real estate is the way to wealth. I'm a big believer that real estate is one of the most powerful assets when you talk about wanting to create wealth. We've called it the ideal asset because it gives you it gives you appreciation, it gives you the tax benefits, it gives you I've got a video on that. Just go check it out. If I get going down that path, I'm going to talk for 10 minutes on that alone. So the bottom line is, it does all this stuff for you. And what I want to show you here is, let's say you have $100,000 saved. Now, like the Dave Ramseys of the world would say, hey, save your money, never leverage, never get a mortgage, never do anything of that nature. Now, I'm not going to say that debt is good. I'm a big believer you don't want any consumer debt. You don't want toxic debt, but you need to leverage debt to create wealth, as long as you're utilizing the debt as an investment. And I know that sounds weird for a lot of people that have kind of fallen into the trap of the Dave Ramsey mindset. But the bottom line is, if you have 100,000, well, let's just say 200,000. Let's say you wanted to buy your first investment property. There's a couple ways you can go about it. You could buy a $200,000 home, and actually, let's go back to the Vibe board. I want to show this really quickly. So you could go and have a $200,000 home, and let's say this home kicks off 10% cash on cash return, right? So every year it's going to be $20,000. Let's say it goes up by 5% per year. So that's going to go from 200 to 210. So let's just say you get let's say you get $10,000 of appreciation, right? So you could see that, okay, this is okay. Oop. This is an okay thing. Like you'll have about $30,000 that this one asset will make you that year. And then the next year it would be about the same. So you could be about, 64,000 or so is where you would have for cash. And then by the end of it, you'd have to ultimately, for you to scale this, and this is like property number one, for you to get to property number two, it's going to take you years, 5, 6, 7 years to get to property number two. That just doesn't make any sense. And so what we do with cash flow hacking is we talk about how do you create leverage without taking on a lot of risk to be able to accelerate the growth of your real estate portfolio. Now, you can utilize this principle with business. You can utilize this principle with pretty much any asset. We happen to specifically be talking about turnkey cash flow real estate because those are the variables that we know we can control. We believe real estate is an asset that, yes, it's going to go through cycles. Like right now, I could make the argument to you why making an investment in a turnkey real estate property, even if the cash flow isn't where you want it to be right now, even if the market has a chance of going down right now, if you buy that property right, even if you buy at the wrong time and it goes through a down cycle, long term, you're still making a good decision, right? And if we know that long term is what we're planning for, why are we gonna make poor short-term decisions that will go against our long-term positive objectives, right? Like it makes no sense. And so what we wanna be doing is, yes, we always wanna be optimizing and so on and so forth, but at the end of the day, let's say that you can save $10,000 a year, right? You're starting off with $200,000. With the model that I just showed you on the vibe board there, it's gonna take you years. You buy your first property, but it's gonna take you years to get to the next properties, right? And so what we do is, let's just say your other investments would get 8, let's say you're 5.5% mortgage for an investment property right now. And let's say for you, you wanna get to, let's call it $15,000 per month to be completely financially free. If you could hit $15,000 per month, you'd be financially free and everything would be good. So right here, this summary is showing you that you have $180,000 a year is what you need to be financially free. Your rental property purchase price, we're assuming that the average price of the rental properties you're buying is $200,000. The annual property appreciation, we're assuming that the value long-term is gonna go up at 5% annually of the real estate prices. Once again, this is a calculator. With any calculator, you have to build in assumptions. And so I'm just being really, really transparent about what the assumptions are here. Of course, if the appreciation is 3% on a house, 4%, depending on the market that you get, depending on the environment. Of course, the last couple of years, the appreciation has been much higher. We may go through a cycle where it's lower for a couple of years, but over the long term, this is the expectation that we have set out. Mortgage rate, 5%. Once again, that's been lower. It could go a little higher. Those variables will have an impact on the results of our goals. Once again, you just gotta kind of understand the variables that you need to be able to measure so you can pivot and adjust your strategy as necessary. And then when we look at the annual rent increase, the beautiful thing is we're leveraging other people's money. Our tenants are really the asset. The real estate is the asset, sure, but the tenants are paying down the mortgage. They're making the payment. They're going to give us additional money for cash flow, and we're going to utilize all of that to help compound. Now, with the model that I talked to you about before, we just take the appreciation, we take the cash flow, we save that money up, and we would buy another property. It would probably take 6 or 7 years to buy our second property. Well, in this situation, because we're leveraging debt, you could see 8 years and 0 months from now, we're going to have, in this, I'm utilizing our private banking strategy, utilizing a properly designed whole life insurance policy, $314,000 of cash inside of a policy. We have 33 rental properties. Okay, so this is what I want you to see. In this situation, with the assumptions of putting 20% down on a property, borrowing against a whole life policy, saving an additional $10,000 per year, we're getting to 33 properties in 8 years rather than ultimately what we would have in 2 properties here. Now, of course, we are going to have policy loans because we're leveraging the whole life insurance policy. So at the end of year 8, at 9 years and 0 months, you can see we've got $314,000 of cash value inside of the life insurance policy. We have still 33 properties. We have $17,340 per month. So that is above the $15,000 that we were targeting. We have the rental property value of $7.8 million. Now, of course, we don't own all that because we've leveraged it, right? That's not all equity. But what we do have is we have equity of $1 million, almost $1.8 million. And so by doing this, by creating leverage, we've created a 71.75% cash on cash return. Now, what do I mean by that? That's a 71% cash on cash return, equating for the original $200,000 that we had saved and the $10,000 per year. So 9 years in, what are we saving? That's $90,000 we've saved plus the 200, that's $290,000. And this is saying that $290,000 has a 71.75 cash on cash return annualized, right? Like when you break it down that way. How are we able to do that? Is because we got a couple things working for us. We have the appreciation of the real estate property, which is great. We have the depreciation, the tax advantages. We have the leverage because every time we have the equity that's available, we've refinanced, and this calculator takes into account the fact that we've refinanced that money, so we're gonna have more expense to manage those loans. But at the end of the day, it still makes sense because when you use leverage in the right way, it just works. And then we also have our tenants. We're utilizing the bank's money. We talk about OPM, other people's money. We talk about we're utilizing the bank's money. We're utilizing the tenant's money to pay our mortgage down, to give us free and clear cash flow above and beyond the mortgage payment. And we're not spending that on lifestyle. We're taking that money, we're reinvesting it. What we do is we actually, because we're utilizing the whole life insurance as the down payment. So the whole, in this philosophy with cash flow hacking, the down payment for the house at 20% is actually being utilized to avoid PMI, obviously, but it's coming from the whole life insurance policy loan, that you're borrowing against a life insurance contract to be able to put that down payment. So ultimately you're creating more leverage without taking on more risk because you're avoiding PMI, but you're able to leverage and finance the entirety of the project, but you're never interrupting the compounding on that down payment, which is really, really important. And so now at the end of the time, this is why we take from year 8, you actually get where you wanna go, but you still have policy loans. So we wanna take that next year to pay back the policy loans. And by the end of it, this is showing you how you can go from where you are right now. If let's say you have $200,000, like I call this a retirement rescue plan, because I know so many people that are 50 to 55 years old right now with $200,000 in a safe account. And if that's you and you're following the traditional financial planning methodology, you're in a lot of trouble. You're way behind where you need to be. You are not going to be able to retire and maintain your standard of living when you hit 65 years old. I call this a retirement rescue plan because this is the only way that I've been able to find that I can see predictably that you can actually get where you want to go on a predictable basis, starting with a couple $100,000. And the great part is you could do this without taking on a lot of risk. Now, I'm showing you one example. There are a lot of different variances that you can take in this process to get to where you want to go, but it's really, really important. And I think everybody needs to understand this. Everybody needs to see this, that the purpose of me filming this video is to talk to you about the fact that getting wealthy is really, really hard if you're not leveraging debt. Now, as I end, I do want to say, once again, I feel like I need to put a stamp on this. It's not a matter of me being a big believer in debt in general. I think consumer debt is really bad. I think credit card debt is really bad. Now, credit cards aren't bad if you manage that properly. You can get the benefits and bonuses of having a credit card. Pay those off monthly. Don't have the expense. Consumer debt is really bad. You should never utilize debt in that way for depreciating assets. But if you leverage debt for investment and you know that the return is going to be greater than the cost of the money, it makes sense. Robert Kiyosaki talks about this better than almost anybody that I know, and it's phenomenal. So if you haven't read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cashflow Quadrant, those 2 books are amazing. Go read them. If you haven't gotten a copy of my free book, Cashflow Hacking, go down in the link in the description below, get it. You can go to Amazon, get it for 20 bucks, or you can go to cashflowhackingbook.com, follow the link in the description, and it will bring you there. All I ask you to do is pay for shipping and handling. I will pay for the rest of the book. You just got to pay for my distribution house to get it out to you, pay for the mailing costs, the rest is on me. And so it really is that simple. You're never going to get anywhere in life without leveraging some debt. That's why I always say right now, Dave Ramsey is great if you want to remain middle class. If you want to be debt free and just live, just get by and always be on the edge of middle class, Dave Ramsey is great for you. But if you want to accomplish more, if you want to show up more powerfully in life, I'm a big believer this is the kind of stuff that you need to be thinking about and figuring out, how does this fit into your life? How can you leverage debt in a positive way without increasing your risk, but helping you accomplish more and get your family and your legacy to the next level? So any questions, leave them in the comment section below. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, that way you're notified every time I launch a new video. And until next time, have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk soon.